Jullie zetten op dit moment allemaal even in de mute mode, maar zo gauw wij verder gaan met de presentatie, krijgen we de mogelijkheid om later vragen te stellen. Next slide please, Neil. Oké. Waar gaan we het over hebben? We gaan het over Intelidox hebben en Adaptive Engagements. Die zullen gedaan worden door Neil Keen. Neil zal ook ingaan op waarom Intelidox en Return on Investments. Uiteraard leggen we even uit wie is Document Dialog en wie zijn jullie sprekers. Daarna komen nog een paar demo's en omdat alles in interactieve mode gaat, kunnen jullie tussentijds vragen stellen. De vragen kunnen zowel in het Nederlands als in het Engels gesteld worden. En mochten daar nog punten zijn die we niet kunnen beantwoorden, komen we daar later op terug. Next slide please. Oké, wie is Document Dialog? Document Dialog is een leverancier van klanteninteractieoplossingen, waarbij wij kijken naar waar hebben onze klanten de behoefte aan om een klantinteractie te optimaliseren. Daarbij zoeken wij de best of breed products en proberen die te vertegenwoordigen in de Benelux. Daarbij zijn wij ook gekomen om met Intelidox wat te gaan doen en daar willen we jullie vandaag mee doornemen wat de mogelijkheden daarvan zijn. Document Dialog is onderdeel van de Dialog groep. Meer informatie vinden jullie op www.documentdialog of www.de.eu of www.dialoggroep.eu. Next slide please. Wie zullen vandaag presenteren? Neil Keen, Senior Vice President van Intelidox. Adrie Flutters, maar die moet helaas vandaag even verstek laten gaan. En mijn naam is Jaap Nieboer, ik ben verantwoordelijk voor Document Dialog. I will now hand over to Neil Keen, who will explain to you the Intelidox and Infiniti solution. Neil, the floor is yours.
Sounds great. Thanks, Jaap. I appreciate it. And thanks, everyone, for joining this afternoon. What we plan to do is just briefly walk through a little bit of a background on the challenge related to issues of people trying to do digital transformation in the enterprise. Walk through some demonstrations and then open up for questions from the team. So as we get started here, one of the things that's really, from a background perspective, we wanted to cover is to give you a little bit of background on Intelidox. Jaap and I have known each other for over 20 years now, having come from the CCM space. And as part of the CCM space, one of the things that I recognized in joining Intelidox at the beginning of last year was there's a gap in the offering space about how do we help build interviews to collect data more effectively and help people digitally transform these front-end applications and that drive CCM, that drive the outbound communications. So I joined the company. We actually have launched up North America and Europe in the last year. In Australia, we've been around for about 4 years with about 130 different customers already globally. Partners of ours include Pitney Bowes, as we'll talk a little bit about later on, SAP, IBM, TIBCO, Microsoft, a number of different partners, as you can imagine, both from a sales perspective where they actually can resell our products, but also being able to work with us from a technology perspective. So just to set the stage of what the problem is that we typically face or what customers are facing today, the biggest challenge is we still see a lot of companies who have large forms libraries of paper forms, or they may have transitioned them to electronic forms, but they're trying to go digital. They're trying to make this accessible via web services, via mobile phones, cross-channel with an omni-channel approach. The challenge is that a lot of these electronic forms, and all electronic forms that are PDF, aren't modally accessible. They have a lot of instructions built into them, so you have to understand how the form works. And based on those instructions, then you have to know how to fill out the form correctly. Those instructions built in and people having to read and understand them leads to a lot of not in good order forms that are error prone, which unfortunately costs quite a bit of effort. And in most cases, anything captured in an Adobe PDF form, the data itself is difficult to get out. So what ends up happening is people build custom applications on the front end in Java or with other HTML type tools, when their goal is really to build a digital interview and something that's adapted. So it's something that's smart, intelligent, and based on your input will automatically modify itself to only capture the information that's required. What we're seeing is a kind of a flipping of the problem to say, let's start with a digital interview. Let's design this digital interview once, have it be immediately available in multiple languages and across all devices from a single project, and then be able to drive back out to paper, to data, to your systems of record, or to, like Pitney Bowes Engage One Interactive, where you can actually edit and modify a document before you release it, or go directly to e-signature. And we'll show these an example of this in just a few minutes with all of these. So if we look at the eras that we've gone through in CCM over the years in customer communications, the first two generations really were focused in on paper. So the gray ones here took quite a bit of time and effort. The value was really kind of low value, a lot of wastage. There's still a lot of paper in, especially banking and insurance, quite a lot of paper that people have to fill out on the forms side of things or creating communications. The second generation was really around electronic, and the start of that was really Adobe PDF forms, collecting information with a paper paradigm, but in electronic form on a desktop or a laptop. A challenge is that as you move more and more towards mobile, these PDF forms don't work, so people are generating and creating custom Smartforms, which are really writing applications with typically Java or .NET or some other application. These are expensive and take quite a bit of time and effort, typically, unfortunately, take quite a bit of time to roll out. So our approach has been to come in and say, let's do what CCM did for customer communication, where you have one platform that you can quickly design and develop and deploy solutions on from. Have the business owners working in conjunction with the IT teams have more control over their development of this, but it be accessible across all devices at one time. So just like you would build a project in Engage One, and now it can generate to multiple channels, it can generate and create an adaptive interview, and that interview would be accessible across any device. You can stop, you can start, you can move from your phone to your tablet, from your tablet to your desktop, and never lose track of where you are. The adaptive interview, as we see it, really is made up of four components. To have an adaptive interview, you need to be able to do the interview. You need to be able to collect the information intelligently. It needs to be intuitive and guided, so that as I walk you through this, it should be more wizard-like, more interview-like to collect that data. And then it needs to connect back to data sources, whether it be SAP or Salesforce or Dynamics. These quick connectors need to connect behind the scenes to collect information to make the interview smarter. At different stages of the interview, you may need to drive workflows where I need to notify someone else to collect some data, or the agent or the broker needs to send something to the individual insured or to the bank customer and ask for additional information. So driving workflow as well as generating on-demand communications. This can be done through CCM. This can be done actually with on-demand kind of communications directly within the product within the Infiniti platform. However, in most cases, if you have CCM, this plugs into your CCM and extends your investment in that. All four of these components together drive the interview process. So designers design an adaptive interview, and I'll actually walk you through that briefly. It's immediately available on the website and the mobile sites. And as people use it, we're collecting information about where they get to in the interview. Where are they stopping? Where are they? What areas are giving them trouble? So we have insights and some analytics that will tell you and tell the designers, we're seeing people stop the interview at this particular point where we're asking for a copy of their ID, because we think they don't have a scanned copy of their ID available. Maybe we should send them a text message and let them take a picture with their phone, or at least give them the option to do that. You can enhance the interview process throughout this, and all the information that's collected is talking in real time back to systems of record, or generating an interactive document or a communication, outbound communication of any kind. So we've integrated with Portrait.io, where you can actually do this in conjunction with being able to get decisioning, to real-time decisioning. So as we collect the information, calling Portrait to say, return to me the best next action. And then from that, I'll make additional decisions. And now I've collected all the information that can go out to Engage One to generate an interactive or a final document. The nice thing about this is it is truly all digital. You do not have to worry about making it fit on different screens. It's responsive design, so the application runs across devices. It is browser-based, so you don't have to download anything. The data is immediately accessible and available, so there is no issue of trying to extract data from systems. And because we've eliminated the instructions inside of what typically would have been a forms process, we now eliminate the majority of the errors. So if you're seeing 30% of forms typically becoming NIGO or not in good order with errors in them, we typically see that go down into the low single digits. We can't change that they put in the wrong data in something if it's not validated data, not the phone number, but we can certainly make certain that the phone number is formatted properly and that they put this data in correctly. The nice thing about this type of an approach means that you can develop applications across the customer lifecycle. So as you're working with customer engagement from Pitney Bowes, the focus has always been on the lifecycle. How do we help people at the acquisition stage, the onboarding, and the servicing and growth? There are challenges at every stage where you're trying to get new business in the door or you're trying to service someone. But the combination of the Dialog solution sets and delivery capabilities, as well as the expertise, makes for a nice fit between the platform that we offer and the delivery capabilities and the unique ability for consulting that Dialog does to help solve these problems at every stage. So with that, I'll jump in and we'll do a brief demonstration and show you what we're talking about with an adaptive interview. So this particular example, and let me see, I think it probably would be good to unmute everyone, if I can choose everyone here. I'm going to unmute everyone on the phone so you can ask questions as we go through this. So just be aware you're muted. If you, if need be, I will mute the background again. Someone's loud. So this is a demonstration. We're going to walk through what an adaptive interview looks like. So from this is a designed application. This is for life insurance. It's specifically broken into two pieces. And the first piece, here is going to be doing a quote. So as I go through it, says, is this policy for you or for someone else? I'm going to do this very quickly to say this actually is for me. And knowing that, what is the coverage you're looking for? I'm looking for term coverage. And I can begin to fill in my needs of what I want to do. The goal here is to get someone in very, very quickly and get them to a quote. So I'm going to just fill in some information about myself. Again, as I go through this, this information is going to be used to generate a quick quote for what I want in the term insurance. Ask names about, ask if I'm my gender. If you'll notice, these red asterisks. These tell you these are required fields. Collect this information. The design of this application, just to give you a sense of this, it takes about, in this particular case, it took about 2 hours. And you have pull downs, you have connectivity back to data sources. This can be any data source you want. It can be CSV files. It can be a lot of different kind of capabilities with data connection. And then if you'll notice as well, based on your answers to dangerous activities, like do you skydive, if you click yes and no for these different ones, they will, in the application process, prompt you for additional information. So now I can request the quote, and it says my quote is ready. And if I was connected to the rating database, it would tell me, notice that it's now generated for me all this information, a summary of my quote, what the quote would be, and then it would say your insurance quote of X dollars per month. Is this something you're interested in? If yes, and immediately call my agent. If I want to continue on, all the information I've typed in now flows directly into the application. We can also stop it and come back to it later on. And if I were to use this on a phone, you would begin to see, if I skinny this down to the phone, you'll see immediately adapts to the phone and now has the little pancake icons up in the corner. And this works just as well as on a phone as it does on the desktop. So I'm going to say, yes, I want to go through and do this. To save myself some time, I'm not going to type all of these. You can notice there's a lot of different controls that we have in here. A couple of things to be aware of. If I were to try to finish this before I'm done, this tells me that there are certain areas that I need to go back to and complete. There's required fields here. So if I come back here, there's a required field within the state that I was born, and funding options. How do I want to do this? So if I wanted to fund this particular application, hear a little bit of background noise. If you go through and say, I want to enter in and fund this particular application, I don't want them to type in the bank information. We can call external web services to get more information. So in this particular case, I'm looking out and saying, tell me about your routing number for your bank, and then I will go out to the web service to grab all of this information. So as we go through this, I'm going to go back and actually do one that's completely filled out. Give me just 1 second. So this is one that I've completed from beginning to end, gotten down to the submit application. So all of the summary information is in here. I acknowledge that, yes, I want to do this. What happens next? Well, when we click submit, it actually generates the data. It actually, in this case, we would call engage one, or would generate the document, then call the e-signature platform and fills in all the information for us. So we can fill in PDFs, you can dynamically assemble and compose whatever kind of documents you want. You can kick off engage one and have, if it's done by a broker or a call center, they can actually begin to now make edits and modifications to this as necessary. And if you'll notice, all the information that I've collected is available here and would be stored back into a database or into an XML data file to be passed over. And if you'll notice, now I can't download and print and physically sign this because I've connected this up to e-signature. We've made it easier for them to sign. And now I'm signed and I have applied for insurance. So that's a way of kind of automating what today would have been a process that looks like this. Stop, download, find the right form, know which form to download, pull this in, fill this information out, print it, sign it, mail it in, email it, fax it back in some cases. But the experience now is more of the way you would sit down with an agent and have them ask you questions. And it is a virtual agent, if you will, in this form of an interview. I'll take a break real quick. Is there any questions on this?
I have a question. That form that you showed, is that a form from Pitney Bowes? That's created by Pitney Bowes or not?
This was created with Infiniti. This is the Intelidox Infiniti platform, and it integrates to Pitney Bowes.
On the previous form that you showed was a final form with everything filled in. Was that created? Yeah, this one?
This particular one was not. We have demonstrations that do have one on it. I just did a fill-in form because we connected DocuSign. So for the purpose of this demo, it's smoothly running all the way through it. But yes, you can integrate this. This integrates directly with Engage One to generate these documents. So you can do Intarsis as your signature to the back of Engage One, and all we're doing is passing XML data to your core systems and to Engage One.
Okay.
So one additional application I thought I'd show you quickly is you'll notice I've changed the branding here, so I've opened up a different one. You can have this building one project, you can support multiple languages. So if I had a travel claims application, one of the first questions may be, tell me what language you would like this to be in, or where you live in your language. And then based on that, the project itself will actually is available to you to run in multiple languages. Unfortunately, I don't speak Finnish, so let me go back over here and do one in the English. But as we go through this, this is the same type of application we talked about with a different look and feel on it. This is just a cascading style sheet, so different, whatever your website looks like, would pull this information in and say, okay, let's make this look like the rest of the website. I'm going to pre-fill some of the data in here so we don't have to do this completely. I'm going to say I'm the policy holder, all this information. Actually, I don't think I ever added all that in. So as you put this information in here, you go through it step by step. You choose, I had a travel claim. I wanted to set this up because I lost my luggage. How much did I lose? Have I filed a claim before? My bag, I've already filled this in and said, okay, I've had a bag that was lost. By the way, I'm going to duplicate that and say I had 2 bags. This one was lost. The first one was torn on the same date, and that was for $2,000. You can add and grow and shrink as many of these as you want, so we can set up as much data to collect as necessary. Again, all these controls for pull downs, information behind the scenes, calling portrait, calling engage one behind the scenes as necessary, and the systems of record to collect this. If I haven't received anything from the airline, at any given point in the process, I can save this, I can walk away, and I can come back later and pick it back up where I left off. So if I'm at a doctor's appointment and decide I wanted to start this, or I'm at the airport and I start the claim on my phone, I can save it. The call center rep would be able to see what I've completed and how far I've gotten. I can pick it back up on my laptop, back up on my device, and it would be saved. The progress would be saved as we go. So if I go through here, a couple of things to notice as well. We may require you to do things like uploading receipts. These are literally just drag and drop little widgets that we place in to let you choose and upload a receipt that you may have. I don't have one available for me right now, but if I was on the phone, it would ask me to take a picture. So it recognizes being adaptive and responsive. It picks up and says, I see you're on your phone. Can I use your camera and just take a picture of the receipts that are needed? And if you needed for them to write in descriptions, they can use rich text editing anywhere in here. So if you wanted to pass through rich text directly over to Engage One into your final document, but let them either start with a template of text or create text or copy and paste text, it's up to you. And then the final detail here is, okay, where should we put this money if we agree to your claim? So I'm going to submit this, and now it's generated. In this particular case, it's just generated the PDF, and it did not send it to e-signing. So you can begin to see information in here that's passed through that was placed in, the dates the trip started. Some of these I did not fill in completely. I had a trip cancellation interruption, but this would be information we would pass over to Engage One and let it generate this document and pass it out. Any questions on this?
Yeah, about the content. How do you, in the documents that you've shown the last time, how do you take care that the same content of the form is being put into the template of Engage One?
So we actually created XML data file, and just that's the regular standard approach, or called a web service, and pass XML over to it so that it flows directly into the project you have today. So if you've already built the application is actually running in Engage One. We would, instead of outputting to, in this case, a fillable form or to a Word document, we would just generate everything in XML with a web service call and pass that over. So if we're working with Portrait to collect data during the process, we're having a real-time conversation with Portrait or SAP or whatever application behind the scenes to get data and to do decisioning. And then at the end, the output is an XML.
But then maybe a bit more specific. In the Engage1 template, there was a lot of static content. How do you align that with the static content of the web form? Or do you also pass that as part of the XML?
So you're talking about how we don't have to create the form. You could actually create the entire form out of Engage1. Are you looking to mix and match like the form we create, like PDF that we create with Engage1?
Yeah, there were a lot of
standard
packaging
it into.
There are a lot of standard questions that you ask in your form. Do you have to repeat that as static content in Engage1, or do you pass it also through as XML?
So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. You may have noticed in the previous example where I had this one. Let me get back to the English one. We can do both. So we're passing data over to this, but on this particular page, for instance, we may have had some content that we wanted to be unstructured content. Someone's going to have a predefined canned piece of template data or template content that they want to edit and modify. So a normal disclaimer for Finland, for tribal claims. They have that basic language in there, and you allow someone in the call center or a broker to edit that. We can pass over that kind of content as text. We can do it as rich text or straight text, so that it can be passed in the XML, and that can be picked up by Engage1. Or what we could do is we can put a trigger in there and say, this is a flag, and Engage1 can pull it from the content repository and pull in whatever content you need. There's a couple different ways to solve it. Depends on how you want it deployed.
Can you go to that last document that you shown where you have that application form sent indeed by Engage1? Maybe can I give an example?
I'm sorry, we could give an example of.
If you have the last document that you shown, okay, so you filled in all the application and you create the form, and you created the document by Engage1. Can you show that document that you created, the last one, where you have every data of the filled form in there?
Like this?
Yeah, was this the one created by Engage1 or not?
No, this one was not created by Engage1. We had a demonstration, unfortunately we didn't have it today.
Hi Neil, it's Gaston Hummel here. I think what Michel is after is kind of, how do you configure the forms? So when you have a lot of data and a lot of text objects already defined in your Engage1 template, is your starting point in Intelidox to define all of those data fields and all of those text blocks again? Or is there some way to import the data definition of the Engage1
or the other way around, if you have the labels from the form, can you pass those labels through to the template of Engage1?
Thanks, Gaston. Here you go. Here's an example. I'm going to actually walk you through the design environment. So this is, as we do the design, this is a form that we just downloaded off of a customer website and pulled it in. This could be an Excel spreadsheet. It could be an XSD for a data definition. So for Engage1, if you have an XSD already for your data definition, all you have to do is import that into us, and now we have all the data mappings. We know what your data is that we're going to be writing out to. And what we're doing now is I'm going to get ready to upload and create a demonstration that is that application we just saw. So this is the design environment. On the left-hand side, you can see really a tree view, and in the middle, you see a canvas. So I'm going to create a website very quickly, a portal for banking self-service. And I'll do what you were looking for in just one moment here to go through it. So I can begin asking questions. What is your name, for instance? That becomes a new answer over there called new answer 7. You can rename that to whatever you like. What state do you live in? I pulled in a data field. So now I'm actually going to look at, if you'll notice in my properties on the right-hand side, go out and talk to a SQL database that's already been predefined. I know that I have something called states. Go pull in the states here, show the state, display it as a state full name, not by my codes or whatever, and then make it so it's a unique field. So now that will populate into the form. As I build this out a little bit more, I'm going to add a couple of things like maybe a physical mailing address. So again, I'm just creating the interview. I haven't done anything yet to map it to engage one. So I'll show you that in just one second. So now I've got this going. One of the things that I want to do is say, what do you want to do today? So instead of this being the form to fill out with the instructions, we reinterpreted the instructions to be more of the interview. So do I want to open a new account, or do I want to set up payment authority? So I'm just going to ask a couple of quick questions here. See, I'm just dragging and dropping and creating this. And when I'm done with this setup on this, I'm going to save it and show you live what we just built. So this is now done. Go up and save. You see what I've got built. Now I go back over to the actual portal and say, run this application. Actually, just let me go to that URL. And that's what I just built. So if you type in your name, your mailing address, the state you live in, all that information now gets captured and ultimately will be mapped to an XML or to a PDF or to an Engage One template. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So this is simple. There's no rules set up with it yet. So one of the things I want to do is I've just collected one page of information. What I want to set up now is a separate page that says set up payment authority. And this page will only occur when whenever there's a rule fired. So in this particular case, I want to upload an ID. If you set up payment authority, I need your ID, and that ID ultimately will go into the document package at the end of this. So to set this up, I want to set up a rule that says, what do you want to do today? It goes back up and looks and sees what do you want to do today, and there was two options for it. I want to set up payment authority. Now, just like in Engage One where you're setting up conditions, I now have a condition that says, if I reload this application, you type in your name, type in your mailing address, come down here and see if I open an account, nothing happens, but if I set up ACH, it now has another page, a whole other section to go to, and I can upload my ID. So I've built the interview. Now, for the purpose of this demo, the interview is complete. So where do I want to take this? I actually want to generate some kind of outbound communication. This could, I'm dropping in a template in this case, because we do import PDFs and Word files and create these on demand. I'm going to recognize all the fields that are in a PDF file. If we had pulled in an XSD, an XML XSD, all the fields that are in that XSD will be available, and all you need to do is just drag and drop them over to the items in the interview that correspond to this. So what is your mailing address is corresponding to address 1 in the XSD or in the Word document or in the PDF. So as I go through and I map a few of these, I'll save it and say, what do you want to do? Let's finish this up. By default, one of the things that we have is that we have different action providers that we can post-process or process all the data we've collected, so all this information. As you go through and collect it again, I'm going to set up payment authority. I'm going to upload an image of an ID. So this is a live running application at this point. Start the upload. Now I've got my driver's license in there. Click on this and say, let's submit it. Typically, this is a final summary page like you saw in the life insurance quote. But it's going to, in this case, generate an XML feed. It's going to also generate, because I just pulled in a PDF file, it's going to simply create a PDF file and then call it the e-signature application, passing through all the information on the document for e-signature. This typically would be generated if you already have all those built into Engage One. It's just passing XML to Engage One, and Engage One is taking care of that. So from a design perspective, this is a start to finish example of how quickly you can design and build one of these applications. Does that make sense? Is that what you're looking for? Is like if I wanted to basically pull in an XSD, it would show up over here as a list of all the fields in the XML file that just need to be mapped to the interview.
Yeah, I was also looking the other way around. So let's say you have your form already filled in, and now within Engage One you say, okay, I want at least the same combination of questions and answers then in the document. is it possible that you then also provide that XML, for example, as input?
To get it out of the document?
Sorry, too?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not following the actual use case. So you're saying that you've got the information in a form, in a field?
Yeah, so assume we've already made the form with your tool, and now we want to create a document out of it, but I have an empty template to start with.
Yes.
Is that also then to be filled easily from the design environment here to the design environment of Engage One?
So right now they're not tightly integrated to that point where the design environments are working together other than through loose connection with XML or web services. So the interview process, as you grab this, what we'll do is collect that information, then call Engage One and pass a payload of data to it via web service or via XML. And then you can go into Engage One Interactive or generate the document for final delivery. So it's a loose connection, if you will.
Yeah, thanks.
Alex, I think I had you muted there by accident, so I don't know if you had any questions. Any other questions on the application stuff?
No, not from me, Alex. It's clear for me.
Well, let's go back over here to the presentation just for a few minutes. One of the things that we're very interested in having conversations with you on, as you can imagine, these are rapid design applications that you really can build an interview to collect information in front of Engage One, working with Portrait very, very quickly. The example I just did was just 5 minutes long, and we had that going all the way through to generating XML and generating an outbound document. So you can see when we start working on this, there's a lot of savings. What we're typically seeing is overall savings times between 200 and 500%. Sometimes a lot more than that. Where if you're building an application, it may take you weeks to build it in AngularJS or Java. But if you do it with us, you can do it in 30 minutes, 45 minutes. We took one that was a customer had been working on for over 3 months, and it took us 2 hours to prototype up the wireframes that they've been writing in Java for almost 3 months. When you start getting to this point, now you're making the CCM component, you're making Engage One much more efficient because you're collecting that data and then automatically determining, does this go into Engage One Interactive? Does this go directly into Engage One for batch so that we can do delivery? So instead of this being physically sent back and forth, we can connect it with e-signature and take it down all the way down to, as you saw, that life insurance application. 7 minutes, I can have a quote, and I can also have an application completed, and all of that information now is being generated and sent back out. And if the broker is requesting it, they can fully edit the quote package before they send it to the customer using Interactive. And then one of the things we get into is the goal is to speed up time, reduce the not in good order from 30 to 40% to 1 to 2%, which makes it a lot more efficient. But what we want to do is make it so customers can access this and brokers without having to know how a form works or the instructions in the form. So when you start getting into that, you see a lot more efficiencies in how to deliver and collect information out in the field. The way we deploy this is very similar to the way Engage One is done. We deploy it on-premise primarily or as a hybrid private cloud solution. The focus is really around it needs to connect to data sources to get the best return. You want to connect it to internal data sources. So putting it in a private cloud or internally within your 4 walls is the most efficient. And it's multi-tenant, so you can easily, just like Engage One, you can stand up multiple tenants in your organization for different groups. All of this is geared towards being able to scale very quickly. So we have a couple of different pricing models that we do on this. One is more transaction-based, and one is more by size of company. Net premiums written if you're insurance, assets under management if you're in banking, and it really depends on what's most effective, cost-effective for you to get started. So with that, really the key is, as you saw, I designed the application one time, and now it's accessible and available on all the different platforms. So this is meant to be both mobile as well as online as well as offline. So we have mobile apps for Android, Windows, as well as iOS, so that if you wanted to be able to do this interview process completely offline, you can do that and synchronize the data when you get back onto the network and keep that online offline working as well. So we see that in like insurance claims, or when people are going out for life insurance to meet with individual insureds, they may actually do this completely offline, still have the intelligence and collection in the interview, but behind the scenes, when you get back to the office, it uploads it and then puts the data and updates all your databases, and then calls Engage One to let you complete the process. So with that, I'll open it up for questions, and Jaap, if there are any questions or comments you'd like to make as well. Hopefully this was beneficial for you to see another way that we can kind of help drive data collection on the front end with these interactive, adaptive interviews, and ultimately extend the value of what you've invested in CCM.
Do customers also integrate these forms into their own mobile apps? You mentioned you had your mobile apps at Intelidox, but if Bank of America wants to integrate this into their mobile app, you've got kind of a toolkit to do that?
We do. So there's embedded underneath this is the ability to generate the HTML. It's just, we're either going to pass it back to a browser where they would actually be able to integrate it into their app as HTML coming back, or we have our own app, but the app is really meant to help people do more online, offline. Not many companies use our app to basically replace their app building. We're not an app builder platform. We're just meant to automate the interview process within their own app.
And the styling of the forms, that's done through a GUI as well, or that's done using like HTML5 and CSS coding?
CSS. So if I go back over to this example, like if I wanted to change one like this and change the styling, the nice thing about this is it's all dynamic. All I have to do is just add a different one. Let's see if I go with CRM thing. It's just taking the CSS of the customer and pulling this in, and now it looks like this. I can change this to any look and feel that you want based on their style, their CSS.
But the responsiveness is built into the kind of master templates.
Yes.
Sounds good.
I have one question.
Okay. Neil, there was one more question.
Yes, you are using DocuSign for the e-signatures, is that right?
You can use DocuSign. There are other, we have another signing solution as well. So you can use different type of digital signing solutions.
Okay. Can you tell something more about the integration with the DocuSign? Is that by XML or?
That's through an API, is my understanding. DocuSign integration.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, then Neil, thank you very much.
Can I ask one?
Yep.
You talked about the loose connection between the two tools. Are you planning for
Yes.
a more tight connection?
A tighter connection between Engage one and Intelidox is what you...
Yeah, I thought Idly Flitters would present something on that.
Yeah, we're working on it at the moment. But we haven't finalized that, what need to be the integration details. So we're looking for input as such as well.
Okay, nice. I'll be interested.
Okay. If there are no more questions, we'd like to thank you all for participating. We will make the slides available to you if anybody, and the recording, if anybody would like to know more, feel free to contact us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oké, dankjewel. Graag gedaan.
Thanks everyone. Have a good afternoon.
Same to you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Cheers.